Thank you all. We'll get started with the Finance Auditing Committee of December 14th. We have a lot of items on the agenda today, which we're going to go through. And we're actually going to not do roll call votes. If it's okay with all of you, we're just going to ask for approval. That way we can speed it up as well because there's a lot of actions to be taken. So with that, I'll ask Madam Secretary to do the roll call.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And welcome again. And thanks for hanging in there. Starting with Director Cochran.
Here.
Giudice?
Here.
Roseball?
Here.
Hernandez?
Here.
Verdoni? You have to wait for just a second. Vice Chair Farr is absent. Chair Rabbit?
Here.
President Terrio?
Here.
Great. You have a quorum. You're not a committee of the whole yet, but you are very close. So as soon as Director Verdoni returns, you will be a committee of the whole.
All right.
Okay.
We're this close. We'll move on then to item number 3, which is ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Controller. That's on pages 5 and 46. PFM October report starts on pages 11 through 20, and the PFM November report starts on pages 29 to 38. And we do have Monique Spike here from PFM to give us their report. So welcome, thank you for being here, and please take it away.
Good morning, everyone. A couple of comments. I think what's really, really interesting about the market environment is that over the past 2 months, we've had a significant shift in market sentiment regarding interest rate policy, and that shift having been confirmed by the Fed's move yesterday to not raise the benchmark interest rate. Specifically, interest rates have moved substantially lower since October. If you look at the November report on page 30 of your packet, you can see that month over month yields moved down 34 basis points. Since the end of November, we've actually saw interest rates on the 2-year benchmark Treasury note move down a further 37 basis points, so where it currently sits at 4.38%. Now, why is that notable? That's notable because, again, we believe we're at the end of the interest rate increase cycle, and we're starting to turn our attention to the possibility of interest rates declining over the next year. So how have we accounted for this? Well, specifically in the portfolio, we've moved from a defensive duration posture where we were keeping securities shorter to take advantage of higher interest rates to a more neutral posture where we had been investing in interest yielding bonds further out on the yield curve to lock in the higher yields that existed over the last 2 months. We will continue to do that. Oddly enough, the market expects there to be 5 interest rate cuts in 2024, and the Fed continues to project we may see 3. Other things that are notable about the economy in terms of shift is the expectation that the Fed has achieved the elusive soft landing through their aggressive policy over the last few years. GDP has grown substantially over the past few quarters, and although there are indications that GDP growth in the 4th quarter will slow, we still expect growth to reach 2.5% for the calendar year. Next year, GDP growth is projected to come in at 1.4%. So it's not anticipated that we're going to see a recession from this Fed action. That has shown itself in the stock market, where the stock market ending November about 19% year over year in terms of growth. And that gain has only increased since the Fed's announcement just yesterday. So what can we expect? We can expect lower yields for the foreseeable future. For our part, we're focusing on diversification of the portfolio, both across the yield curve to hedge against those interest rates declines in 2024, but also from a sector diversification standpoint. Last time we met together, I talked to you about purchasing more corporate notes and asset-backed securities for the portfolio. We've continued to do that. If you look at the portfolio snapshot on page 38 of your packet, you can see that the wheel is very colorful. We're investing in a lot of different sectors. Because there had been chatter in the markets about the consumer being under stress, we've seen asset-backed security yields rise higher. We've seen the commercial mortgage-backed security yields rise higher, and that has created buying opportunities in the portfolio. We continue to rely on our credit process. We are very confident in the securities that we're purchasing on behalf of the district, but it's simply a case of the market sentiment creating buying opportunities, and our goal is to leverage that. Other things I'd want to highlight is the fact that we continue to coordinate closely with district staff on the maturity and liquidity profile of this portfolio to ensure that you have cash available when you need it. And we continue to discuss other things like the investment policy review, which is coming up next year as well. So that is part of our work plan for 2024, and we believe the portfolio continues to be hedged appropriately against the risks in the market. Are there any questions for me?
Looking to my colleagues, any questions for me? Not seeing any. I just want to say thank you again for being here. Thank you for that report. It is interesting times in the perception and the reality of the market or the economy as a whole, I should say. So appreciate that. I will ask if there's any public comment on this particular item.
We have no speakers online or in the room person.
With that, can I get a motion to ratify the previous actions and receive the reports?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And for the record, that did pass unanimously. And thank you. And we are a committee of the whole. And thank you, Pradeep. Appreciate that. We'll move on then to item 4A, budget increase in the fiscal year 23-24 Bridge Division capital budget for project 1526, the Suicide Deterrent System Construction Project. This is relative to the extension of the National Park Service special use permit that came from B&O previously. It's on pages 47 to 54. Are there any questions on this particular item? Not seeing any. Is there any public comment on this particular item?
No public comment for this item.
And could I get a motion?
So moved.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Again, for the record, that does pass unanimously. So thank you very much. 4B, budget increase in the fiscal year 23-24 Bridge Division capital budget, project 1526, the Suicide Deterrent System. This is for additional support services. Any questions on this particular item? Not seeing any hands raised. Any public comment on this particular item?
No public comment for this item.
And can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. And for the record again, that did pass unanimously. Moving on then to item number 6. No, 5. There are no actions for item number 5 today, so we move on to item number 6, discussion regarding toll options and public outreach relative to a potential toll increase on the Golden Gate Bridge. Golden Gate Bridge. My speech impediment's coming back to bite me. And we have Jennifer Minucci just please, Jennifer, go ahead.
All right. Bill, good morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the Finance Committee. I'm here to present it's an informational item regarding the potential process for a multi-year toll increase plan. The purpose of today's discussion really is to talk about the need of a potential future toll increase, review and provide guidance on criteria for amount of a potential toll increase and the potential toll rate, and review proposed steps for outreach to solicit public input from our customers. If we use kind of what we consider our successful last 5-year plan process as a guide, we would propose the following. After today's discussion, staff will create toll increase options for discussion at the January meeting. The board could decide which ones they would like to put forward for public for input, and then these options would not be voted on until the public has had extensive opportunity to review and comment on each of the options throughout the public outreach plan. Then we would plan to conduct some virtual open houses to the public to solicit and receive input in February. And then in February, the board would conduct a formal public hearing. And then in March, the board could consider adopting a multi-year toll plan traditionally implemented in July. So I thought to provide some history and context, since many of the board members can kind of change seats since the creation of the last toll plan, just kind of a brief overview. As you know, bridge tolls are, by statute, the backbone of the district's revenue source to fund both bridge operations and maintenance of both bus and ferry, as well as to fund reserves for our future capital needs in bridge and transit. Traditionally, about half of the toll revenue raised went to fund transit operations and maintenance. However, as a result of the pandemic, the prior years, due to commuters not yet returning in San Francisco at the same level, we're steadily trending at about 85% of pre-COVID traffic. Commute hours are down almost 30%. This results in a drop of about 25 to 30 million a year, which is equal to a reduction of about 25% of bus and ferry systems pre-COVID revenue. So, as you know, the district was able to secure some COVID one-time emergency funding of about $287 million to make up the lost revenue in the transit services. The district has been fiscally prudent by monitoring and setting transit services to the level of demand and keeping expenses low as possible, allowing these funds to be stretched out as long as we can. That being said, it is anticipated that the one-time funding will be fully expensed by the end of the year, this fiscal year, June of 2024. The district will receive some state funding through MTC the next 2 fiscal years, but it is not enough to cover the anticipated shortfall. In the past, the target of the 5-year toll revenue goal was based on reducing the majority of our projected shortfalls produced in our district's annual financial projection. However, due to the pandemic's impact on the district's revenues, both reduction in tolls and fare revenue, it's unlikely that the toll increase will produce the majority of the projected shortfall, which right now is estimated at $220 million over 5 years. So staff will, with the committee, we would like to get some guidance on how much of the estimated shortfall should be reduced by some of the toll option plans. And then lastly, in the board report, there is a section on toll increase criteria. You can see, need to review them all, but then on page 3, it really talks about how we look to how to do the toll structure rates and kind of make sure we have ease of customer understanding in the toll plan. The item also reviews, starting on page 5, the public outreach plan in a little more detail. We're recommending 3 virtual open houses with Spanish translation services available, outreach efforts including advertising, news media briefs, social media. In addition, staff would traditionally reach out to news outlets, editorial boards, community partners. We would develop some extensive FAQs, translation materials in English, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, etc. We'd make sure we'd have multilingual availability. And then lastly, in the board item, we also have some examples on the magnitude of revenue that a toll increase could raise. That starts also on page 6. As an example, when we did the last approved plan in 2018, Golden Gate tolls, we increased the tolls 35 cents a year, with the last increase July 1 of 2023. So over the last 5 years, the cost of goods have increased approximately 4%, which equates actually closely to that 35 cents that that the board had approved. Again, the staff can develop some revenue targets and toll increase scenarios for discussion of next month. This is, again, an information item with the goal of getting direction on how we want to have a conversation with the public, verify the criteria in the plan, and the timeline. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Appreciate that. And I see a hand raised by our president, Michael Tirio.
Yeah, you, if I remember the number correctly, you said our projected shortfall over the next 5 years is what, 220 million, did you say?
220 million.
220 million. And so kind of extrapolating from what's on page 70 of the packet, page 6 of this particular item, you'd be looking at that, what, about a 75 cent per year increase to fully bridge the $220 million shortfall?
Roughly in that ballpark.
Maybe more.
Right.
Historically, the board has not tried to solve the 5-year financial shortfall solely with tolls. It's part of an array of solutions with the others arising from the strategic planning effort.
And I just wanted to understand the magnitude of what would be involved. Thank you.
Director Grosswell.
The 35 cents that we did this last, I guess it's 4.5 years so far,
How much have we ended up raising on that? I assume we didn't raise nearly what we thought, given COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we raised about 100 million over the 5 years, a little bit more with the dip in traffic in 2020.
And say that
Less than that, yeah.
the 25 cents a year would raise an additional 76 million, you must be assuming a certain level of ridership over the bridge. Are you assuming an increase to get back to where we were, or by the 5-year period, or?
A slight increase, so,
Slight?
yeah. We've been steady for the last 2 years or so, so we would just do kind of a little percent increase.
I know it's not really relevant, but if for the next, when you do present this, could you provide us with some information on what the other Bay Area tolls are and what they're projected to go to? And also just a sample of some other bridges that are a little bit higher than us, just so we know that.
Absolutely. New York has a lot of bridges.
Toll roads. Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Just real quickly, that's a good idea, but we should look for ones that are similar to the Golden Gate Bridge in with a rather affluent population traveling and stuff like that, versus say just the Bay Bridge, which is a different type of.
We'll get an array of bridges, both locally and across the country. And bridges more applicable than toll roads, because toll roads usually have a free option. With a bridge across a body of water, there is no drive option around it. So that's why we think bridges are probably more applicable, and we'll put together something next month.
Director Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jennifer, for your report. I'm wondering, do we have data reflecting the number of drivers who go to buses or other modes of transportation?
Shifting.
Who may have concerns about the expense of the increased tolls? Do we have that kind of data? Do we know if there are those drivers, what are they doing?
Yeah, I don't think specifically, but
We do manage the corridor, so people take the bus or the boat. The demographics of our service area are slightly above the Bay Area average for household income, so it doesn't mean heavy communities, people that are struggling. We do have discounted fares, though, on our buses and ferries. We were one of the leaders in embarking upon the means-based fare program on transit. And as part of our last 5-year fare increase, we lowered our means-based fares significantly on our ferry boats. So it's a lot cheaper to take our ferries if you're a low-income person, or buses than it is to drive. And so we took steps to address low-income commuters, because if we raise it a little bit, it will impact some people.
Thank you, and that was my concern, that we take that into account and make sure that other modes of transportation are easily available to those drivers who choose to not pay tolls and maybe use a different method to get back and forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
I hadn't thought about that.
I do have a question regarding how we took into account the normal toll contribution to bus and ferry based upon ridership and over the next so many years. Are we looking to maintain status quo, have it go forward, and so on?
So the policy of this board is embodied in your mission statement, and the mission is to own, operate, protect the Golden Gate Bridge, and to the extent resources are available, to provide funding for bus and ferry service. So that is the mission of the organization. So any toll increase will raise money, and any toll increase will have some money left over for transit, not just for the bridge. Even today, we have that situation. So we look at the overall entity, and when we do our projections, we look at different assumptions on service levels. And so if we adopt a toll increase that solves, half of our deficit, then the other half will be solved through other means, through efficiencies, or through service reductions, or other outside funding sources. The strategic plan also does look at other funding sources, not just, cuts, but revenue enhancements as well.
No, I appreciate that. And I know that's obviously a timely discussion given everything that's happening elsewhere, but I do appreciate our model going forward. Anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing no other hands raised, we'll ask if there's any public comment on this. And I do believe we have Director Maston on the line.
That's correct. We have no speakers in the room, but I believe, Dean, can you call on Director Maston? I believe he wants to speak on this item.
Yes, good morning. Sorry, my cold is preventing me from being there in person. So, on page 67, it states that the CPIU is 4%. And on a 975 toll, that'd be 39 or 40 cents increase. And to me, that's easily understandable, it's defensible, and it's commensurate with the pain felt by everyone else, all of our customers. And I would be reluctant to see us go above 4% increase. End of my comments.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You are missed, but we're glad you're not here. Your Colt's not here anyway.
I'm sure you are.
Any other public comment on this particular item?
Justine, do you have any other speakers on your line?
I do not have any other speakers on my line. Thank you.
And just confirming with staff, I appreciate the information. Is there any other specific direction that you need in order to move on? Are we good?
We'll see you next month with some options.
Great. With that, we'll move on to item number 7, which is to authorize the execution of on-call professional services agreements relative to contract number 23, D92 consulting services for tolling, electronic payments, and data analysis. And before I go to Jennifer, I'm going to go to Kim to give us some legalese.
Well, it's better than that. Sorry for the interruption, but we need a minor modification on this item and also on item 10. And the reason for that is that your rules require that 72 hours before you consider a matter, that the notification goes out to the bidders and also an opportunity to protest goes out to the bidders. That did not occur in this case. So we need to make your action today contingent or conditional, if you will, and allow through the end of the day Monday for any protests to come in. If they come in, we'll deal with it after that. If they don't come in, then the item will become final if you indeed approve it. And if we do get protests again, we'll take it as we come. That protest will be scheduled at the next available time.
Any questions on that? Appreciate that approach. Seems very prudent. And Jennifer, please take it away.
All right, and then before I also do this presentation, you do have a verbal amendment on this. We had a typo, and I apologize, on the actual contract number. So the corrected or the accurate contract number is 2023 B as in bridge, as opposed to D as in district 092. So, sorry, District Secretary, if we could note that and make that change, we greatly appreciated. All right, I am here to request the authorization of an on-call professional services agreement, and this is for consulting services for tolling, electronic payments, and data analysis. I'm requesting an authorization to 2023-B-092 for the 11 firms that are listed in this item. The scope of this bench is a very specialized on-call services for project management, technical and support primarily in the toll operations and future implementations or upgrades to the toll program. In addition, this bench is being requested for other specialized support for e-fares and data analysis. This is a 5-year bench with an option to extend 5 one-year option terms with an average usage of $2 million a year, depending on what projects are planned, both capital, this will be both operating and capital support. This was the first on-call bench the district ever utilized in 2013 when we moved to all electronic tolling. This will be the 3rd time that we go out for this RFP. While it seems unusual to have 11 firms, we find that many people actually stay in the tolling business as a career and shift firms over the years. So in fact, I was just looking at it, 9 of the 11 firms proposed on this bench are either your Golden Gate alum staff or have, that have worked in the district, or have worked for the district in this bench, but maybe not even for this firm, but have worked for the district in supporting us with tolling. So in addition, you'll see in the report, we kind of added a little bit to explain why there are 11 firms. Each of the firms has some specific focuses. So we just wanted to give you a little flavor that, in fact, this is kind of a multiple scope of services, and they are kind of technical, specialized in policy, et cetera. And as you know, tolling has gotten much more complex over the years. So we look forward to having this support if approved. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
I have a motion. I'll get a second. Second. And with that, is there any discussion? Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing no hands raised, before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public on this particular item that would like to speak to us?
We have no speakers on this item.
Okay, with that, is there, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Moving on then to item number 8, authorize execution of a 4th amendment to the services agreement with VHT Starstar LLC relative to the contract on the mobile direct response network services to enable mobile messaging and toll information going forward. A good thing. Go ahead, Jennifer.
All right, last one you'll hear from me today. This is, we call it the Starstar mobile service. It was implemented in December of 2012 during the implementation of AET. It provides customers the ability to get toll information in English and in several other languages when you call it. Your Golden Gate alum, Terry Witt, actually does the English translation. You basically push your language and it will push you a text with both the website information to do your payment at your leisure and information on tolling. And it is really been, the tolling world loves it because it can get it in many different languages, which has been very helpful, and get the information to the customers. And we really think that this service needs to be in place until we have kind of an open road gantry solution, because there's still customers when customers come through the toll plaza and see the booth. So this allows people to call and get information quickly. So we are requesting a 4th amendment to this agreement. We're going to extend for 1 year, and then we're going to ask for an extension to do an additional 4 one-year options at the general manager's discretion for an amount of $25,000 a year or not to exceed $125,000.
Thank you. Any questions on this one?
Just for the hell of it, I clicked the link and tried the French. It works fine.
Glad someone verified that one.
Move the action.
Second. We have a motion and a second, and real quickly, do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment for this item.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you. Moving on then to item number 9. Thank you, Jennifer, for your work. Item number 9 is approve establishment of a new project, Spalding Dry Docking and Capital Improvements in the fiscal year 23-24 Ferry Division capital budget. And we have our Michael Hoffman here to give us a presentation. Michael.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Rabbit, and good morning, members of the committee. So the district operates 7 ferry vessels. All 7 of the vessels are K-boats, which are required by the United States Coast Guard to be dry docked every 2 years. In October, the board authorized an establishment of a new project budget to replace the Spalding class vessels rather than repower them for the CARB requirements. So with that, staff, with this new direction, staff had initially planned to take the Spaldings and do their regulatory dry dockings as part of the repower. So now that we're not doing that, we do need to establish a new project budget and project in order to fund the regulatory requirement to dry dock these boats going forward. So on page 2 of the staff report, staff has put together a schedule of dry dockings and a project budget to fund those dry dockings. You'll see the retire dates for the 3 vessels. And staff recommends the committee approve this establishment of the project budget in the amount of $6,624,000. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Michael on this one? Seeing no hands raised, I'll look and see if there's anyone from the public who'd like to speak on this item.
We have no speakers on this item.
With that, I'll look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Michael. Moving on then to item number 10, authorize execution of on-call contracts relative to requests for proposals. 2023 D as in district, 75 grants management professional services. And Kim, same?
Yes, the same contingent nature of this one as well.
And we have Joe Wire sitting there.
Thank you very much to the chair and to the committee. This is a renewal for a bench, and as Jennifer mentioned, the one that you just renewed for the toll was one of the first. This is one of the later ones that came later. This is for expert services and in-call services, contract services in the grants department. We have used these services, for example, one of the best examples is the $400 million for the Golden Gate Seismic retrofit project. One of these firms was able to spend years on the cost benefit analysis and finally get it through with our support and your support, the board's support through the process and get us that award. So they're not all of their use is not all as glamorous as that one, but they are very valuable to us. So there are 3 firms here that have been chosen to award the contract. It would be for a 3-year period with 2 one-year periods for a grand total of $800,000 over the entire period. One of our firms is a certified DBE, and the other 2 have committed to practice to support the small businesses and disadvantaged businesses. And with that, I have to ask any questions.
Are there any questions of Joe on this particular item? Seeing none, real quickly, any public comment on this item?
No public comments for this item.
Bring it back. Look for a motion.
Move approval. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you, Joe. Moving on then to item number 11, approve actions relative to project number 2413, the Kronos electronic timekeeping system upgrade. Joe?
And Chair and the committee. This item, as mentioned, is to upgrade the Kronos system. That is the time collection, attendance scheduling, and leave management software system that the district uses. It's one of the core systems for the district to maintain its employees and to pay them. The upgrade is necessary because the Kronos system, the one we've had for the last 7 years or so, is going to be sunsetted, and the firm that runs that program is putting out a new updated program, and we have committed enormous revenue, enormous time and energy to incorporate our 27 different ways of paying people into this system, and so we would like to stay with it. So the request here is that we would stay with Kronos, upgrade to the new Kronos system. The total cost of the project is approximately $346,000. That's one-time implementation costs, and then this contract also includes 5 years of annual maintenance, and is requesting the authority to grant the GM the ability to negotiate additional years, another additional 5 years of maintenance later in time if the district deems that as a proper direction. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Joe on this one? Not seeing any hands raised. Anyone from the public have any comment on this item?
We have no speakers on this item.
I'll bring it back. Look for a motion.
So moved. Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you very much, Joe. On to the next one, which is item 12, receive the independent auditor's annual comprehensive financial report, CAFR, for June 30th, 2023.
Again, thank you very much. And I will just say a few opening words, and then Ahmad Garabet will come up and provide you with the reports. Actually, there's 2 of them. He can be here for both. But just to say, this is your independent auditor's report. It's your board. The board really hires this report, hires this auditor, on behalf of the public to review the financial processes, procedures of the district and to report out on them. Very important part of your yearly role here at the district. So you will get that report. I just want to thanks to Ide Bailey and Ahmad's team. They did an excellent job. And of course, to my team, the accounting team with Cody and Vicki and Leo, Patrick, Ferdinand, John, Jeanette, and Jennifer. So I want to thank them for their work to get this. And lastly, and I will steal his thunder, it is an unqualified opinion, which is excellent. So here he is, Ahmad.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is the annual financial report for the district. We are the external auditors for the district. The scope of the audit, what we're doing here is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. The district must adhere to certain reporting standards that are out there. They're called Government Accounting Standards Board. It is a process of basically affirming the financial information that was previously presented to you by management. We come in after the fact. We confirm the balances that are reported on the financial statements, confirm your cash. We confirm your tolls. We confirm various numbers that are your debt, various numbers that are reported on the financial statement. It's a year-round process. We actually start the process around February or March. We split it into multiple phases. The interim phase is when we come into the district, we take a look at your compliance, we take a look at your internal controls. We'd like to see review processes of the disbursements, procurements, receipts, and then we wait for management to close the books, and that's when we come in and confirm the balances. And then we work with management to ensure that these financial statements meet the reporting standards and the accounting standards, which are GASB. We encountered no difficulties in the performance of the audit. We actually had no adjustments to the financial statements. These statements were actually completed a couple of months ago. I didn't think that you had a meeting last month, but it's presented to you in December. It could have been presented to you in last month. We encountered no difficulties. The finance department was very helpful in giving us the information that we need. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Any questions on this particular item? I think, speaking on behalf of the committee, thank you, Joe. Thank Eide Bailly for their work, but thanking really Joe and Jennifer and the entire team for doing great work consistently.
Are we covering both 12 and 13 here, or are we just covering?
I think this one is just 12. We're going to take them one at a time.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
We're going to go quick. So with any public comment on the capper?
No public comment on the cap.
So with that, I'll get can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of receiving the independent auditor's annual capper, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on then to 13, which is the independent auditor's single audit report. And are you going to just roll right into that?
Yeah.
That's great.
You're required to have a compliance audit. You receive federal funding from mainly FTA. Quite a bit of some amounts over the past 2 or 3 years in common with other transit districts. And again, the scope of the audit here is to ensure that you expended those funds in accordance with the grant agreements. And so that's what we do here. It's a compliance opinion, meaning that the district complied with the federal requirements on accounting and expending those funds. And I'm pleased to let you know that we issued a clean opinion, and with that, more than happy to take any questions.
Great. Well, good work all around. Appreciate that. Any questions on this particular item? President Chiriga.
Yeah, let me actually see if I get to the page. I think it's on page 27 of the document, page 40 of the packet. Scroll. And I'm going to point out, and Joe, I'm going to apologize a little bit because I had meant to catch you about this before we met today, but I rolled in right at the start of, about 2 minutes after the scheduled start of transportation, so I didn't get a chance to. If you look on page, the first instance is on page 27, page 4 of the report, under management's discussion and analysis, a summary of revenues for the years ended June 30th, 2023 and 1899. And that occurs numerous places down to that middle of that document.
It got somehow changed and it went right through the report. So
yes,
we will change those. I pointed that out a couple days ago and they're going to change them, but it already gone out to you guys.
Okay.
We'll do that, but I was thinking that was the year my grandparents were born, so.
It was after the Emperor Norton said that we should build the Golden Gate Bridge, but it was before the bridge was actually built.
There you go. It's impressive. It's the date that the system defaults to. When it was originally put together years ago, when the first coders were putting these together, they figured, who would ever want to go back anything farther than 1899? So it defaults that.
There was another grammatical thing in there that I'll find it later and point it out to you, but that was I figured you must have caught it at some point, but I had to do my job and point it out. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, and again, no public comment on this particular item?
That's correct, no public comment.
With that, in front of us is to receive the independent auditors. Did I get a motion in a second? I think I did.
So moved.
with the appropriate corrections.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you all very much. Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it. Moving back to Joe, we're going to, item 14 is receive the annual report of the OPEB Retirement Investment Trust Board. And that's on pages 105 to 110 in your magic book.
Thank you again to the chair and the committee. The district board, this district board has set up the OPEB trust, and in that charter to set up the trust, one of the requirements was that trust, the OPEB trust, report back to this board yearly. And in that report, it should discuss the investment policy, the performance of the, in this case, the investment advisor and the custodian. Those are the folks that have been hired to help the trust run, and any changes that would be needed to the charter. So annually, the OPEB Trust Board, which met a few months ago, reviews this report and then submits it in to you folks. So here it says that the trust is in compliance with investment policy, and that's the certificate that's on page 109 of your report. The investment advisor, TFM, and the custodian, which is U.S. Bank, have been deemed to provide good customer service, and PFM, the investment advisor, has had consistent success with its returns, and cumulatively it has been above the benchmark, its own benchmark, and the majority of its peers. And then the OPEB Trust recommends no change to the charter. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Appreciate that. I just want to say how well served the district has been with this trust. I know that we've talked about it and compared it to other trusts out there, and the performance therein, and really just in the investment world, a relatively new document coming from 2007 forward. So hats off to everyone involved. Looking to my colleagues for any questions, comments, concerns for Joe on this particular item. Not hearing any, I'll ask if there's any public comment on this particular item.
We have no public comment for this item.
Bring it back. Can I get a motion to? So move. And a second? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, that does pass unanimously. Thank you, Joe. Status report, item 15, status report on the fiscal year 23-24 budget. Joe?
Yes, since you folks have had a long day, we will go through the rest of these relatively quickly. I won't take much time with each one. I just want to say that the budget, of course, through 4 months remains balanced with the use of one-time federal funds, and the attached tables and charts demonstrate that. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have. And then after January, we have a little more time, and we've gone through 6 months, we'll spend a little more time on these reports.
That's good. Anyone have any questions on 15 months? Just keep rolling, Joe.
Okay. The next report, which is on page, let me get down to that one. Next report, it's on page 121. It's your report on the monthly traffic ridership and related revenue for October. And these, October came in very, following similar trends to the first 3 months.
Any questions? No. Any questions on that one? We will take public comment for all three of these items in a minute here, but why don't you go ahead to item 17, the monthly review of the financial statements.
That's on page 129. This is your monthly review of the financial statements, and with that, we'll take a look at that table right in the middle of the page. The far right-hand column on that table in the middle of the page is the current year, where we are, revenues and expenses. And if you look at revenues, are still more than expenses by $6 million. That's less than it was in the last couple of months because the last couple of months have been where expenses have been greater than revenues. So it's that extra, or what you would call it, surplus has been reduced, and we expect it to continue to be reduced as we go through these winter months. And then hopefully in the spring, maybe the situation will reverse again. So we'll be monitoring that. And then the last report is page 139, and that's your capital expenses. This report is through 4 months, which is approximately 33% of the year. The expenses are running about 29%, which is very normal to be slightly different than the amount of time that's passed through the year, because capital projects spend out in their own unique way. And with the questions on any of these reports, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions for Joe? Seeing no hands raised, is there any public comment on the last 3 items?
No, we have no public comment on any of the items.
Okay, these are informational, so no action is required. And thank you, Joe, for that. And before we continue to item 18 on the agenda, which is closed session, if there are no objections, I would like to accommodate the public and take item 19, public comment now instead of after our closed session. Are there any objections to taking public comment now? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to address this committee under item 19, public comment?
We have no speakers in the room. Justine, can you confirm you have any speakers on the line?
I can confirm that we have no speakers on the line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thanks again, everyone, for their patience during our meetings today. Thank you for all your ayes as we move forward. We will be placing the public on hold for the duration of the closed session item. Return after closed session to adjourn the meeting, and our attorney will take us into closed session. Kim, I'll turn things over to you.
At this time, thank you, Chair Abbott. At this time, the Finance Auditing Committee will go into closed session for a conference with legal counsel under Government Code 54956.9A for two matters that are listed on the agenda: Chase Tatum versus Golden Gate Bridge District and Gregory McCullough versus Golden Gate Bridge.
Thank you for your patience while we're in closed session, everybody. Please remember to keep your phones on mute. Thank you.
Okay, we're on.
Great. With that, we'll move back into open session and get a report out on closed session. Kim?
Thank you very much. Chair Rabbit, as the committee met in closed session under 546.956.9A with regard to the Chase Tatum matter, the committee provided its lawyer with appropriate guidance as to how to proceed. With regard to the second matter, McCullough versus Golden Gate Bridge, the committee authorized a settlement of $300,000.
Great, thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Moving on, we're on item 20, motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion? Second? Anyone opposed? We're out of here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Good meeting, David.